U.S. actors are headed for the picket lines. The Screen Actors Guild announced its members voted to strike after failing to reach a deal with Hollywood's film and TV studios.
Actors deserve a contract that reflects the changes that have taken place in the industry. Unfortunately, the current streaming model has undercut performers' residual income, and high inflation has further reduced our members' ability to make ends meet.
The decision comes after more than a month of negotiations that led to no agreement. Actors say they want higher pay as well as stronger regulations governing the use of artificial intelligence. This marks the first time since 1960 that actors and writers will picket film and television productions. It's expected to effectively bring Hollywood to a standstill and could have residual effects on the industry here in Canada. And the CBC's Ithel Musa is following the story for us from outside of TIFF headquarters in Toronto. So, Ithel, what's the very latest?
Yeah, well, Andrew, we were waiting to hear whether or not the 160,000 actors that work in Hollywood's film and television industry would actually be hitting the picket lines. And today, this afternoon, they made it official. SAG-AFTRA, the actors union, said, they were not able to meet with studios or to find common ground with studios and streaming services. And so they were in a strike position, and they announced today that they are going on strike. And this is quite historic because right now, Hollywood writers are already on strike. They started hitting the picket lines in early May. So now you've got actors and writers in Hollywood on strike. That's basically shutting down Hollywood. And the last time that happened, as you mentioned, was 1960, when Ronald Reagan was president of the Actors Union. Some of the things, you've already mentioned some of their demands, but let's go through that again. Unsurprisingly, higher wages, also increased residual or royalty payments from streaming services. And finally, one of the big ones, guardrails around the use of artificial intelligence. This is going to be quite monumental. This strike is going to have a huge industry on America's entertainment industry. Fran Drescher, who is known probably most famously for her role in the U.S. sitcom The Nanny, is the president of the Actors Union. Here's some of what she had to say.
I went in earnest, thinking that we would be able to avert a strike. The gravity of this move is not lost on me or our negotiating committee or our board members who have voted unanimously to proceed with a strike. It's a very serious thing that impacts thousands, if not millions of people all across this country and around the world.
So, Ithel, what impact could this strike have here in Canada? So many productions, American productions, produced here.
Yeah, just behind me is TIFF, where so many, films from around the world premiere. I mean, we're known as Hollywood North because of all of the American productions and co-productions that happen here. Experts say this strike will not only be felt in the United States, it will be felt around the world, including here in Canada.
The majority, by far, even though they're American shows, have been shot in Canada. There was a summer, I think it was 2 summers ago, where there was almost 80 productions happening in Vancouver. People don't recognize how much of the content that they watch is actually created here. So it's going to have a massive effect on everyone sort of below the line, vendors, all of that. So it's a big deal.
It's hard to think, Andrew, that productions here won't be affected. I mean, 160,000 actors are essentially not going to be working, which will bring productions to a standstill, and that will have an effect not just on Canada, but anywhere where U.S. Hollywood productions are taking place. Last month, ACTRA, the union that represents Canadian actors, they did write a letter of support and in solidarity to the actors in the United States, SAG-AFTRA actors. So, we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen here in Canada, whether the Toronto International Film Festival will even happen this September.
Ithel, thank you. That is the CBC's Ithel Musa live in Toronto. So for more on this, let's bring in Alex Levine. Alex is the president of the Writers Guild of Canada, and he joins us from Toronto. So Alex, let's start with your reaction to the actors' strike in the United States.
Well, we see this as a positive development. The more pressure that can be put on the AMPTP, the organization that represents the streamers in the studios, the better. As far as the writers globally, but the Writers Guild of America specifically, they share a lot of the same issues that SAG-AFTRA is at the table about. Residuals, global residuals, guide rails around the use of artificial intelligence is a big issue that the streamers, the AMPTP, has yet to address properly in these negotiations, or at least to the level where the writers or the actors feel any comfort. AI is coming for a lot of jobs, and actors are particularly vulnerable. Writers are vulnerable as well. So we see this as a positive development. The actors realize the stakes, the gravity of this situation, and they're standing firm on their requirements of the AMPTP. The game has changed.
And tell me a little bit about how AI is such a big concern this time around.
Well, for writers, the concern is that it will devalue the work of the writer, that the studios will be able to use programs like ChatGPT to produce junk drafts and then take away the original creation rights from writers and then say to the writers, just do us a human pass on this script. And then writers get paid less and the studios own the project from its inception. So that's the kind of thing that a lot of writers are worried about. For actors, they're already seeing computers like AI use their voices to do additional dialogue recording or looping. So the time is coming soon when AI will be able to completely simulate a real person. And if a human being sells their likeness to these studios, then they can just create as many movies as they want with that actor's likeness, and the actor never makes another penny. So that's the kind of stakes. I'm not saying that's going to happen tomorrow, but these are the kind of concerns that creatives have about the studio's use of AI moving forward and how it could quickly take jobs and livelihoods away from creators and the artists that actually make the film and television.
Now, of course, many Canadians enjoy watching American TV and media. How do you think this strike could impact their access to popular TV shows and movies?
Well, the Writers Guild of America strike has already shut down, my understanding is something like 80% of current production. So we've already seen the majority of production shut down under pressure from the writers and the showrunners who are refusing to work under the WGA strike. This new strike by the actors effectively shuts down all live action television by SAG-AFTRA members anywhere in the world. And that includes some co-productions here in Canada. So it is going to impact how quickly we see new product hitting the screens. That's the issue. Now, the streamers, the AMPTP, they were prepared for a writer's strike. And my understanding, and this is, the rumor around the world, is that they had prepared for it by stockpiling a lot of original content. And so they have a lot of content that people haven't seen. They're going to put it up on their sites. They're going to play it on cable. And people aren't going to notice a dearth of choices of, English language television, Hollywood fare, right away. So that's the sort of situation currently. Now, eventually, they're going to run out of content. And when that happens, it's going to be noticeable. Now, that may not happen until the new year. That may not until late in the fall. It might even happen later next year. So it's not going to be immediate. The feeling from the viewer is you're not going to notice that immediately.
Now, how could this affect Canada's, film and television industry? Because, Canadians might even be surprised by how many productions, American-based productions, are actually shot here.
Absolutely. Foreign so foreign location production or foreign service production accounts for most of the business of TV and film in Canada. We do more foreign service location than we do Canadian domestic by a long shot. And so we've already seen all of our amazing crews that get hired by the Hollywood studios to produce their films and television. Most of those crews are not working unless they're working on Canadian domestic production, or they're working on a few of the shows that were continuing to work because they had scripts in the bank. So now all those shows are going to shut down. And in fact, some Canadian and Hollywood co-productions are going to shut down because those shows have SAG-AFTRA actors in them. I think Sullivan's Crossing was one that was mentioned in the trades that's going to have to shut down because I think their lead actor is going on strike. So it's going to impact not just foreign service production, but also some Canadian co-productions. But I think it's important to note that Canada, we have our own unions. We are the Writers Guild of Canada. I'm the president of the Writers Guild of Canada. We also have our national ACTRA. So we are not on strike in Canada. We are continuing to make Canadian programs. We are not the WGA. We are not SAG-AFTRA. So we are impacted, but the Canadian industry continues unabated. The Writers Guild of Canada has an agreement with the producers here. That's our collective agreement, and that's in full force and effect until the end of the year, December 31st. But we are going to the table with the producers, and we're going to be looking at a lot of these same issues that the Writers Guild of America and SAG-AFTRA are looking at with our producers here.
Alex, thank you. That was the president of the Writers Guild of Canada, Alex Levine. He joined us live from Toronto.